welcome to the Afghanistan Project Podcast. I'm your host, Beth Bailey, and my guest today is Omid Eztarabi, a social activist and human rights defender who has been participating in humanitarian efforts to improve civil society and women's rights in Afghanistan since 2018, working for organizations like the International Civil Society Action Network, the Afghan Women Organization for Equality, and Youth Entrepreneurial Services. Omid has been actively involved in program development and human rights initiatives in collaboration with various German organizations as well. Those include the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, the Berlin Senate, Das Afghanistan Komitee, the German Institute for Human Rights, Deutsche Gesellschaft, German Dream, Impact Civil Society Research and Development, and the German Institute for Foreign Relations. Omid, you have a really impressive resume. You are qualified for the P-2 program. You have also applied to the SIV program. You're somebody who has done a lot for democracy in your country and for our country. I'm really pleased to have you here to talk about those pursuits and what now is happening to you. So thanks for being here.
Thank you for the time and the consideration. As you understand the situation and the impacts of the latest executive orders. As you introduced me, I'm Omid Eztarabi, social activist and human rights defender from Afghanistan. I am living right now in Berlin, Germany. I came to Germany on June 2022. But before, I was holding an SIV case to the United States, and because it took a little bit longer time, then I tried to change it for a P-2 case. For Afghans within the recent 20 years who have been engaged with the American institutions or international community, there are several pathways and opportunities to come to the United States. Like P1 is for the people or for the politicians that they face a very hot security threats, or the people who cannot live in Afghanistan and who have like urgent security threats. P2 is for the people who was working directly with the United States departments in humanitarian organizations and NGOs. P3 is like a family reunification for those people who are living in the United States. And P4 is like a private sponsorship program. And the SIV is like a special immigration visas. And for the people that they are not able to come to United States through these immigration cases, they can apply for a refugee resettlement program. All those cases are under the USRAP admission program, United States Refugee Admission Program, that is unfortunately being posed through the recent executive orders of the Mr. Trump administration. So these cases are all legal. They are they took at least 2 years to be processed, and they have multi-layer security checkups and processing, starting from SIV that have about more than 7 steps to be implied. P2 the same, the security checkups, the collecting of the information from the person, checking the criminal record of the person through the FBI or the CIA or other intelligence organizations in the United States, the medical records, and what the person or the institutions had been working. All these documents are legal, and these processes are, I think, the most efficient and the most legal immigration process here in the United States. So pausing and stopping this process on these immigration cases would bring a disaster in the region for Afghans who are living in Pakistan since the collapse of the Afghan government, who are living in some European countries, or who don't see any positive result, or who are seeking for a safe place like United States. The people in those cases are the American allies within the recent 20 years, and they hope and anticipate that the United States administration and politicians consider it like very urgently and review it that and exempt all the Afghans from these decisions and the executive orders. So, for example, hopefully we have some American politicians in the current cabinet, like Pete Hegseth was also an American troop who was engaged in military operations, military collaboration for the Afghan government by the United States. Right now he is the in charge president of the Department of Defense. Secretary Marco Rubio is also the Department of State. Like Mike Waltz, the advisor for the national security, he was also working in Afghanistan. All these people are in the very biggest decision makers, and they have a very long hand on the decisions that are made by President Trump. They can lobby for Afghanistan and they can advocate for Afghanistan, and they know how much that their Afghan allies paid, how they served their life, they risked their life, they lost their lives, they got injured, they lose their family members through the wars and in different military wars in Afghanistan. So they were veterans. They were the veterans for building democracy and a stable government by the help of their biggest allies is the United States, and they anticipate that the United States would never forget their allies, and specifically those allies who were engaged in a direct contact with the United States programs and government. I had an SIV. I applied for SIV. SIV is the special immigration visa to the United States. It's like a asylum case and immigration case. It's the person can apply for it individually. It has more than about 7 rounds and 7 steps: security clearance, medical checkups, collecting documents, checking with different criminal records, and it takes about more than 2 years. The P-2 also, the P-2 is for the people who have been working directly with the United States departments and NGOs in Afghanistan. Because of the time that SIV needed, I changed my idea and changed my case and converted my case to a P-2. Because I was eligible, I was working with International Civil Society Action Network. Before, I had worked with some US aid programs in Afghanistan. And also I was a member of the UN volunteers team in Afghanistan. So we had the experience of applying for such cases, and after the collapse, I had a very positive mindset toward these cases, in these immigration cases. This was the reason that I was applying for these cases. But because of the time that the American institutions needed at that time, I tried to find a urgent way in order to evacuate from Afghanistan. That was the German case, and through that I called up on the friends, and I called up on the German institutions that we had their projects in Afghanistan, and hopefully I could leave Afghanistan toward Germany. And since June 2022 I live in Berlin. But at the meanwhile, within the last year, I tried to reopen my cases. I tried to pursue my SIV and P-2 cases. I had gone through different interviews, through different processes of collecting the informations, our contracts, our identification documents. We had gone through different security clearances, and yeah, I was waiting for my visa interview when, unfortunately, I heard that the President Trump signed executive orders that they pose the foreign aids and also all the USRAP, United States Refugee Admission Program, and all these cases are under this commission. And this, what we can do and what we want to do is that call upon the American politicians and American decision makers in Congress or in Senate, is that hear the voice of the Afghan allies who have been working with you and your military sections in Afghanistan. And you know how they did fight for democracy and building a peaceful country for all the country and for the Western countries, specifically for the United States values and shared values. So hopefully we have lots of people with us, according to any statistics that have been made from Afghan EVAC organization. This organization is the responsible and in charge organization for evacuating Afghan people to the United States. And in charge person is Mr. Shanvin Diver. According to statistics, 89% of the United States are supporting to fulfill the promises to resettle Afghan refugees and allies in the United States. And also we have like Jamie Raskin is like a senator from Maryland. Parmila Jaipal, she's also a congresswoman. Senator Dick Durbin from Illinois, or Senator Alex Padilla from California. These are the Senate and also the Congress members that are supporting directly, and they're urging President Trump to exempt the Afghans from these executive orders. And about what we have done to try to reopen or try to put some pressures on the decision makers. More than 1,500 people signed an open letter to United States President Donald Trump and also to 119 congressmen of the United States. We signed that letter demanding that the process should be started back, and also more than 465 NGOs are included in this advocacy for Afghans, and about 48 states of the American people are standing with this decision that Afghan must be exempt from these executive orders in order to keep the Americans' words stable, and what they have told us that they stand with their Afghan allies. So we hope that our lobbies and our advocacies are putting enough pressures on decision makers, and President Trump see the conditions of the Afghans who are living in Pakistan with different and very tough circumstances, economical problems. Most of those people, we have been engaged and in contact with those people living in Pakistan or the other third countries, because the embassy of the United States is closed in Afghanistan. The people should travel to the third countries and pursue their cases. So they're facing absolutely bad circumstances.
I wanted to, just for people who are listening who aren't familiar with the executive orders, I wanted to make sure that they understand that EO about USRAP only applies to P1 to P4, and that SIV is slightly different and the reason that SIV is paused currently, and only I believe paused for applicants who are not stateside, is because of a pause in funding. And Sean Van Diver and Kate Kavarovic are going to be coming on shortly in the next few days to kind of talk about the fallout for different applicants, because it is different. And I also wanted to address one thing you said earlier, where you're right, the SIV program is taking years. And I just want listeners to understand, too, that's not the way that program is intended to be. It was supposed to be that SIV only takes 9 months, in recognition of just the danger that SIV applicants are in, and that P2, P1 that those should take 12 to 18 months, not 3.5 years. So, there is, and you mentioned all of the pressure on people living in Pakistan. It's only getting worse. I'm sure, Omid, you've seen the recent increase in deportations. Pakistan is deporting all of these vulnerable USRAP applicants. Not all of them, but they are deporting vulnerable Afghans back to Afghanistan and threatening to do so, and then taking huge bribes to keep them there, to the visa costs to stay there, right? But it's really just extorting money from Afghans because they know how dangerous it is for them. Please, if you want to elaborate on that, because I'm sure you know people who are in that situation.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Thank you. It was supposed that P-1, P-2, these cases take not longer time than between 12 and 18 months, but in real we see that they take about years, 3 years, 2 years, and about the SIV, the foreign aids and the financial problem is also a challenge. So we call upon the Americans, politicians and decision makers to review and exempt all the Afghans from these cases. The people in Pakistan specifically, or in other third countries, are facing different obstacles and psychological problems. Like, because the Pakistan police have started to deport these people from Pakistan because they're not able to extend their visas, and they have ability to stay in Pakistan longer to pursue their cases. So it was supposed to take about 1.5 years at the worst situation. At the best situation, about a year, but it took like 3 years, and the people are totally stranded in Pakistan right now. They're facing economical problems, psychological problems, and the most important, that those people who are living in third countries, in such Pakistan, they are going to be prosecuted by Taliban government when they return to Pakistan, when they return to Afghanistan, because the Pakistan are taking those people and try to impose pressures and trying to deport them back to Afghanistan, although they know that they are in a high risk of prosecution from the Taliban side. So this is the matter of lives. This is the matter of the human being, and most important, the matter of the keeping the words that the Afghan government and their allies had with the American country and American people. So I think it's like a tough time to make decisions, and the history will remain, and the history will memorize what the American people and politicians done to the Afghan people in this crucial time. So because of this, I urge the President Trump administrations, American politicians, the people of America, the great people of America, who believe in democracy and who believe in their speeches, that please keep your speeches and try not to forget your Afghan allies, because they were working with you like family members. They had very good experiences of collaboration with the American troops. They shared their water, they shared their meals with the American troops. The American troops were our guests. The American troops were our friends, and we both were fighting for building democracy. And now the Afghan allies are left away, and the American people, although they want, according to our statistics, 89% of the American people or agree to fulfill the promises that the American government had given to the Afghan people. But there are always political decisions and difficulties on immigration cases and for asylum seekers. Because of that, we tried to write an open letter to President Trump, signing about more than 1,500, and also send this open letter to the congressman. About 119 congressmen will receive this open letter signed by different organizations, more than 500 or around 500 organization, humanitarian organization, are supporting us. More than about 48 states, the people of American support our ideas and stand with us. And also, Mr. Shan Van Diver is working so hard to raise the Afghan hands and raise the Afghan voices to be heard by the politicians. The biggest optimism for the Afghan allies is that P-2, Secretary Marco Rubio, and also Mike Waltz, they are in the biggest decision ranking position, and the people says that and believe that they will make something for the betterment and for the promises that they have made. And according to an interview, when the journalist asked Pete Exit, the person in charge of the Department of Defense, he told that we are standing by our Afghan allies. This means, I think, that they are willing to do something better for the Afghan allies. And we call upon the human rights defenders, the American humanitarian organizations, the American people, and also specifically to the presidential administration to exempt Afghans from these limitations and try to clear the processes back and try to make the processes reopen. And we hope that might work.
I certainly hope that you're correct, Omid, and I know that this is having a lot of impact on people. You know, the increased psychological burden for people who are already at their limit from 3.5 years of waiting. And, you know, this, I think that a lot of people who are watching this who aren't involved, who haven't been supporting Afghans for the last 3.5 years, think that a 90-day wait is not a big deal. It's only 90 days. It's 3 months. But for Afghans, it's a huge additional burden. For the volunteers who are supporting them, it has become an even greater burden. And the distress of not knowing what comes next is incredibly difficult. So I really appreciate you putting everything forward so adeptly. And I have one question for you. You're in Germany. Is your family with you? And in the event that your case is not pursued further, will you be able to be safe there?
Yeah, hopefully I could evacuate my family to Germany. They are living with me, but it doesn't mean for me to not to think over my American case. It's important to us to have the case alive, because this was the value and this was the shared values of me and our American allies. So when it comes to an end, or when it comes to a stop, that the USRAP programs, specifically P-1 and P-2, are going to be stopped or suspended for a 3 months. Maybe some people think that 3 months or 90 days is not too much. But for the people who are suffering this kind of mental pressures, this kind of economical pressures, and this kind of disaster in third countries like Pakistan, every day counts. It's like moments counts. They lose their hopes. The police of Pakistan, they're forcing people to deport them to Afghanistan, and they are going to be faced with this. They are going to be faced with prosecutions from the Taliban side. So I think for the people who are living in Pakistan or other countries, it's too important to stay on their paths and to stay on their words and call upon the international community and the United States politicians to please keep your words. So we were the people we were trying to build democracy in Afghanistan and had so much shared values. So we are applicable to this legal processes of immigration. It's not a challenge to the American border. It's not a security threat. These cases are the most secure and legal processes of the USRAP and process of the American admission programs in the history. So for a P-2 case, like you need to do about between 7 to 9 steps, starting from the scratch and then till the visa interview until heading to United States. So these processes are totally legal. These processes are totally visible. The people who are being screened by these processes are 100% rated, and we can strongly say and we can strongly claim that the people who are coming through these cases to United States will not cause like a 1% security threats to American citizens, to American security, because when a person after all these security clearances makes something related to some terrorist acts or something personally, it means that he's doing something personally and individually. It doesn't mean that all the people who are coming through these cases and through these steps or they're not screened well, or they might have some security threats. They might bring some problems, security problems to the American citizens or society. So in every corner of the world, it's possible that people with different mindsets and different nationality do something related to terrorism or something related to destroying the discipline of the community. But it doesn't mean that all people are thinking, or all people are having security problems, and sections like FBI, CIA, the other intelligence sectors are controlling and screening deeply these people who are going to be processed through these immigration cases. So it's not real. It's not totally about the borders of America or the threats that they might face through these people. But I think it's like a political decision, and the people of America, Afghans, organizations, politicians should advocate for reopenment of these cases and also exempt Afghans from these executive orders. So also we demand that the care coordination for Afghan relocation efforts must be remained fully funded, because the SIV holders are facing financial problems. As you heard that for the recent weeks, about 1,600 Afghan allies who were applicable to heading to United States, their trips were cancelled. And what they suffer, maybe it's not too much easy for us to understand. And every day counts for those people who are facing different problems, economical problems. Most of the people I hear from Pakistan, they are seeking ways to feed their children, because living in an abroad country and leave your country for 3 years without any capability or without any financial resources is like a unbelievable problem. They are not able to extend their visas. Because of this, the Pakistan government should also consider the problem and the specific circumstances of the Afghan people and try to collaborate with UNHCR, make the people a little bit calm, do not deport them to Afghanistan, because most of them were the American allies and they might be prosecuted by the de facto government in Afghanistan.
Absolutely. Well, Omid, I really appreciate you being here to talk from the perspective of Afghans who are now having their lives impacted by these executive orders. And I wish you all the best, and we'll keep tracking the issue. And you guys, listeners, viewers, can find updates here throughout the week. Like I mentioned before, Kate Kavarovic and Sean Van Diver will be coming on later in the week to talk about the latest updates to the EOs and what we know about changes that are underway, if there are any. And then I'll also be having a legal expert come on and talk about what this means for Afghans who are stateside, how they can protect themselves if they have asylum underway, or if they are humanitarian parole applicants who are concerned about their status there. So this has wide-ranging impacts, and you can find the information about how that changes day to day or week to week here at the Afghanistan Project Podcast. Omid, do you have any closing words before we end this episode?
Thank you so much, dear Beth, for the tolerance, for the time you gave me. I would like to thank you that you have been engaged with the Afghan problems, with the Afghan society, with Afghan members, diasporas in countries, and that you do your best to support Afghan allies. So I appreciate your efforts. I hope that these strives finally make a way to positive feedback and positive result. At the end, I call upon the American people, the Democrat leaders, the congressmen, the Senate members, and also the humanitarian NGOs to keep going, advocating for the Afghan allies, and we will see hopefully what will happen after 3 months. I think that President Trump would consider some suggestions from their cabinet, from its cabinet, and I believe maybe Secretary Marco Rubio and Mike Waltz or Pete Exit will do something in behalf of the Afghan allies. Thank you so much for the time you gave.
It was my pleasure, Omid. Thanks for being here. And to everyone who's watching, Tasha Kaur, and we hope to see you again soon.